Next on the news, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas in Grand Army Plaza.
A Norway spruce with all the trimmings. I'm Jessica Easthope with what it takes to get the Diocese of Brooklyn lit up.
A religious freedom case on the docket. The Supreme Court is hearing it now. The big question, how will the outcome affect you? Plus, it may seem like all fun and games, but the FBI is saying TikTok could be a threat to national security. Then it's a hymn hit, the most popular Christmas song sung in churches. What do you think is number one? I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. The Diocese of Brooklyn tree is here. After a long journey from Pennsylvania, the tree will stand proudly in the center of Grand Army Plaza throughout the Christmas season. And as Jessica Easthope tells us, it will represent more than just a holiday tradition.
It's only a little bit smaller than the Rockefeller Center tree, but the Diocese of Brooklyn tree has a lot in common with its Manhattan counterpart. A final festive piece to the Christmas season has landed in Brooklyn. Like its famous cousin in Midtown, it's also a Norway spruce. But even without lights and decorations, standing at 28 feet tall, it stands out. This year, the tree is honoring unity and will be decorated with multicolored lights reflecting the diversity of the Diocese of Immigrants.
It's a great way to represent the Diocese of Brooklyn and Queens. With over 24 multicultural masses, it's actually the foundation of the diocese.
On Tuesday, the tree made its journey from a family-owned farm in Pennsylvania that values DeSales Media Group, Net TV's parent company's mission. It was sold to the Diocese of Brooklyn for a fraction of its original cost. The spruce was cut, transported, and set up by the Torsiglieri family. Every year, their business does the same for the Rockefeller Center and Bryant Park Christmas trees.
So it's very important that we align ourselves with mission-driven vendors, and the people that have helped us this Christmas season are family-owned businesses that have operated for over 30 years. It just brings a stronger message.
You can join Currents next Wednesday as we flip the switch on 16,000 multicolored lights on the tree and celebrate the birth of Jesus in the Diocese of Brooklyn. In Prospect Park, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
Plan on attending that tree lighting? Here's the information again. You don't want to miss it. I'll be there too. Just meet Jessica and me under the Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Arch at Grand Army Plaza on December 14th at 4 p.m. Can't wait to see you there. Haven't decided where you're going to donate yet this holiday season? Well, there's still time to help the Tablet fulfill their bright Christmas mission and reach their goal. Let's take a look at how they're doing so far. The paper has already raised more than $36,000 for kids in need, but they are still a ways away from their goal of $125,000 before December 25th. The need is great this year for families fighting inflation. Here's how you can get involved. Make a check out to the Bright Christmas Fund and mail it to Bright Christmas LB number 2118. P.O. Box 95,000, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and the zip code 19195. Or you can make your donation online at thetablet.org/brightchristmas. The campaign has been going strong since the late 60s, and one man has seen all the good it's done for decades. I caught up with Ed Wilkinson, the editor emeritus of the Tablet, in the days before Christmas to ask about the very beginnings of the mission and how it's grown.
Editor Don Zirkle started the fund, and back in the 60s there was like a real emphasis on helping people in the inner cities, and that's where this came from. It was a concern for the kids who live in the inner cities. Sure. And let's make sure that every kid has something, a gift at Christmas time. That was the theme, and so Don started up this campaign called Bright Christmas, and they wrote just simple articles in the Tablet. People responded to it. In the beginning, $5,000, $10,000 maybe came in, but that was a lot of money back then, and we were able to distribute it directly to parishes where we knew the need was great.
And that's how it's a little different this year, right? It went, or now, it used to go toward the parishes. Now it goes other places.
Oh, sure. Now it goes to a lot of Catholic charities, centers, social centers, daycare centers, some organizations like Providence House and Our Children, all places that help kids. And again, the idea hasn't changed. We want to make sure that every every kid has a gift at Christmas time.
What a great idea.
That's
really
great. And now, of course, you know, you bring in so much more money. We're talking like $125,000
Yeah, I
this
was going
year.
to say that. I mean, it used to be back in the day, $1 went a long way. Now, not so much. So, what goes through your head when you said, before you said, tens of thousands? Now it's 125,000 we're hoping for.
Yeah.
What
you know what happened in the 1980s? We began to shift a little bit, and we decided to go to a direct mail campaign, and that really grew the program exponentially.
Yeah, smart.
And then as the sales took over, the program grew and grew, and we have a lot more social media interaction, a lot of advertising for it, a lot of support, backup, and now we're able to bring in that kind of money. So 6 figures every year, and it helps more kids out there, and it helps us to help more kids in institutions all across the. But still, there are still parishes that ask for money, and we still give it to them.
Tell us about your favorite bright Christmas memory.
Well, my favorite bright Christmas memory is that. Every Christmas time, we would do a show on the old Tablet Week in Review, which was a show that used to be on the Prayer Channel. And Margaret Keaveney, who was with Catholic Charities, and I would visit a Catholic Charities center every Christmas, and we'd become part of the Bright Christmas Party. So we would bring the check and give it to them, but we'd also be there for the distribution of gifts. And I remember one year doing an interview with one of the directors of the centers, and we sat in this big Christmas sleigh somewhere in the middle of Bed-Stuy.
You were like the real Santa Claus.
I said, "This is great." And one year, I actually played Santa Claus.
You did.
Yeah. And I could have done it easily now, but I had to use a pillow back then.
That was the editor emeritus of the Tablet, Ed Wilkinson. Want to learn even more about exactly where your money will go? Currents News has you covered. We'll have a special show highlighting all the good the campaign does, from its generous donors to the grateful recipients. That'll air tomorrow, Wednesday, December 7th, at our normal time, 7 o'clock, right here on Net TV. Georgia voters once again have the last word this election season. It's a showdown, Warnock versus Walker. That's Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock and former football great Herschel Walker. Ivan Rodriguez has the latest and why it matters.
In the battleground state of Georgia, voters once again have the final say of the election season.
Being out here to see Senator Warnock and having him kind of be part of the voice that we've been wanting for so long here in Atlanta.
When Herschel decided to run for Senate, it was a no-brainer for us.
Neither incumbent Democratic Senator Raphael Warnock nor his Republican challenger, former football great Herschel Walker, were able to bag more than 50% of the votes in November's general election, stoking an extra month-long fight for Warnock's U.S. Senate seat.
I can't.
I can't.
I can't.
I can't.
I can't vote for Herschel Walker.
Warnock thought no one was watching when he evicted poor people from their homes.
The runoff is high stakes for both parties. If Walker wins, the Senate will be evenly split. If Warnock wins, Democrats will have the majority outright and won't have to rely on the vice president to break tie votes.
The stakes couldn't be higher. I represent the great people of Georgia.
Now, with the finish line in sight and early voting shattering state records last week, the Secretary of State says he's expecting a similar turnout today.
We've actually already had 80,000 people that voted in this runoff that didn't vote in the fall at all. So that's what you're really seeing, is people that were kind of sitting back and watching things are getting engaged in this race. So we think both sides are energized.
Ivan Rodriguez, Currents News.
Meanwhile, the highest court in the land seems poised to settle a First Amendment question they left open years ago. Here's what's happening. A web designer in Colorado wants to limit her wedding-related services to celebrations between a man and a woman because of her Christian beliefs. But state law there prohibits discrimination against gay people by businesses open to the public. The ruling could have enormous consequences. Support for the state would allow the government to force people to do things at odds with their beliefs. At the same time, the opposite could allow many businesses to refuse service to specific people. Lawmakers in New York are renewing a push for slavery reparations for black residents. The measure would create a commission to study the impact of the sin of slavery. From there, they will discuss different forms of reparations, such as restitution of property, mental health rehabilitation, and a government apology. Backers say the bill is being revised and hope it will be addressed by Governor Kathy Hochul and the legislature before the state budget is approved next year. Also in New York, the MTA may be turning over their subway turnstiles in an effort to crack down on fare beating. In May, the MTA said they were on track to lose $500 million from riders not paying their share. But redesigning the gates so that people can't push through or jump over could cost up to $90 million. From turnstiles to the border, new video shows undocumented immigrants jumping over the border wall in Mexico and running straight into oncoming traffic.
These people are just crushed.
The video posted on Instagram shows two groups dropping from the 30-foot wall and running over Loop 375 State Highway in El Paso. Border Patrol is nowhere in sight. It comes less than a week after Customs revealed there were 600,000 migrants in 2022 in situations like this who were seen but not immediately apprehended. November has seen especially high totals of the so-called migrant gotaways, some 73,000. There's a lot more news headed your way. It's a popular app that you and your kids may have on your phones, why experts say you should delete it. Plus, it was money meant to help during COVID, but it was stolen. Who's to blame? And how does a 3-day weekend sound? Every weekend. It could happen. We'll tell you why. The next time you pick up your phone to scroll through TikTok, you might actually be helping China spy on the U.S. I'm not kidding. A warning coming from the FBI tonight about a TikTok threat. Sounding the alarm on TikTok, the FBI's director is joining a growing chorus cautioning the social media platform is a national security threat.
The Chinese government has shown a willingness to steal Americans' data on a scale that dwarfs any other.
While speaking at the University of Michigan, FBI Director Christopher Wray said the video sharing app, which is owned by Chinese company ByteDance, is collecting data from U.S. users for spying purposes and could gain access to your device through software. He also warns the Chinese government could manipulate content on the app with its recommendation algorithm.
All of these things are in the hands of a government that doesn't share our values.
Last month, the FCC commissioner called for a nationwide TikTok ban, and earlier this year urged Apple and Google to remove it from their app stores. And last week, South Dakota's governor banned state employees from using the app on government devices. Experts recommend you think twice before downloading it on your phone.
You have a Chinese-owned app that has incredible AI. It's very, very addictive.
Political risk consultant Ian Brennan says the U.S. will likely take a more cautious approach and says he doesn't expect the U.S. government to suddenly ban TikTok nationally.
The U.S. wants to go after issues that are of direct national security concern to the United States, like advanced semiconductors used by the military-industrial complex in China.
Wray's latest comments come 1 month after he appeared before a House Homeland Security Committee hearing and warned that TikTok could be a serious threat to national security. From stealing data to stealing money, China's accused of that too. The U.S. Secret Service says hackers linked to the Chinese government stole at least $20 million in COVID relief. They say the hackers raided unemployment insurance funds and Small Business Administration loan money in more than a dozen U.S. states. APT41, a well-known group that's allegedly schemed on behalf of Beijing for years, is apparently to blame. There's relief for the flu this year. The CDC says the flu shot appears to be a very good match to the strains that are going around. However, not enough people are getting the vaccine this year compared to previous years. That includes high-risk groups like pregnant women and the elderly. And hopefully the flu hasn't put you out of work. Speaking out of work, it's always a long 5 days and 40 hours a week. That sounds pretty standard for a full-time job, right? But what if that standard changed? Does a 4-day week actually work? A 6-month experiment that had dozens of participating companies just wrapped up, and organizers say it looks like a 4-day work week may actually be better for business. So could this be the future? Currents News' Andy Madison walks us through the results.
A shortened work week sounds pretty good, right? But is it good for business? Millions switched to remote or hybrid work during the pandemic. Commuting time was scrapped, meetings got shorter or were done virtually. And the question of whether or not a traditional work schedule was necessary got louder.
We just saw people that were burnt out and tired.
So 33 companies with a total of 903 employees signed up to participate in a 6-month trial with the nonprofit 4-Day Week Global and researchers at 3 universities.
The requirements are no reduction in pay, so all employees are still getting their 5 days pay, and there must be a meaningful reduction in work time.
Organizers say the trial was an overwhelming success. None of the 27 companies that completed the post-experiment survey said they were planning to go back to the 5-day work week.
The productivity is up, not down, from 4 days versus 5. How can I possibly argue to this building of intelligent human beings that I want to put them back on 5 days?
Workers reported lower levels of stress and fatigue. Company revenue was higher compared to the year prior. And some managers reported that having an extra day off gave their staff more energy to do their job.
One of the big benefits we've seen is just the perspective and almost kind of freshness that people bring to work with them.
And one 2021 survey showed that 70% of workers in America would support a shorter work week, while only 9% oppose. Andy Madison, Currents News.
Now to Iran, where more than 1,000 university students were sick with food poisoning the night before a wave of anti-regime protests were set to be held. While officials are claiming a waterborne bacteria was the cause of the sickness, the National Student Union says the poisoning was an intentional ploy by the government. Still to come on Currents News, he's taking a walk from sea to shining sea. Why this man is on a journey from Jersey to Cali. And Trees for Troops spreading Christmas cheer to members of the military.
When you help someone else, you brighten up their lives, but you brighten up your own.
Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. Going coast to coast for America's heroes. Meet Tommy Pasquale, a man from New Jersey who's going from sea to shining sea with nothing but a cart of essentials, all to raise money for the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans. He's already walked more than 1,000 miles and gone through more than his fair share of shoes. We caught up with Tommy to talk about why he felt so moved to get up and get going.
I've always been passionate about helping, the brave men and women who have served this country in any way I can. I have a lot of veterans in my family, a lot of friends who are veterans or active duty, and then veterans I've met along the way. They really seem to appreciate it, which is really humbling for me. And I really appreciate their support.
Let's see how Tommy's doing so far. In September, he set off from the Jersey Shore. He's walked through rural Pennsylvania and our nation's capital, saw the great lights of Nashville, and now he's in Arkansas. His goal is to reach Venice Beach, California by April of 2023. If you want to donate to Tommy's cause, just go to GoFundMe.com and search for Tommy Walks Across America. Again, he's raising money for the National Coalition for Homeless Veterans. How cool. From walking to an annual tradition of giving, Virginia Beach gets into the festive spirit as hundreds of military families are getting their Christmas trees this week for free. Tree for Troops supports those in need by spreading a little bit of joy. Penny Kimmett has more on this feel-good effort.
This is a wonderful gift. Marina Lopez is a Navy spouse who says Trees to Troops has allowed her family to have a special Christmas for the past 4 years. Definitely helping us financially because trees can run up to close to $100. And the Lopez family is just one of 300 military families that will be picking up a Christmas tree this week completely free of charge.
We've got a lot of families that are having a tough time just making ends meet. And so this is just a great opportunity to provide, just a gift.
Commander Pierre Hahn says during a time of such steep inflation, this program is really more important than ever. Trees to Troops benefits families of enlisted service members E1 to E7. And while it takes a lot of coordination, organizers say the work is worth it.
It's a monumental effort.
We get trees from people who like to donate. The tree growers grow them. The Christmas Spirit Foundation gets all of the tree counts from the different areas, and then 84 bases get divvied up the trees. FedEx, God bless their heart, delivers them to all these bases.
That's Karen Williams. She's been running the tree distribution on Fort Story for 15 years and has no intention of stopping.
I was born military, and it's a sense of community. When you help someone else, you brighten up their lives, but you brighten up your own.
And now, thanks to the work of Karen, Commander Hahn, and about 20 volunteers, Marina Lopez, her daughter, and her son Elijah have a holiday tradition they look forward to every year. Since he's getting older, it's just been so fun watching him have fun looking at all the trees and pointing at them. He's been running around this place since he could walk. So it's just kind of turning into a family tradition.
That was Penny Kimmett reporting. This year, Trees for Troops estimates that they will deliver more than 15,000 trees to 77 military bases all around the country. The show for our troops comes as the nation remembers a dark day in history, the attack on Pearl Harbor, which happened more than 80 years ago on December 7th. Every year, the nation remembers the more than 2,400 service members and civilians who were killed during the Japanese attack. In 1994, the U.S. Congress designated this date as a day of remembrance. If you want to remember the brave men and women who gave their lives in Pearl Harbor, the Brooklyn Veterans of Foreign Wars will be holding their own commemoration. It'll be at the American Veterans Memorial Pier at the foot of Bay Ridge Avenue in Brooklyn. That'll be on Wednesday, December 7th at 11 a.m. All right, finally tonight, everyone has their favorite Christmas song, but is it a hit hymn? Meaning, does it make the top 10? A Christmas list was compiled by PushPay, which offers electronic giving options for churches and their congregants. So, drum roll now, which one is number one? Got your guess? Here we go. Coming in at number one, my favorite, O Holy Night. Second spot, O Come All Ye Faithful. And in third, Silent Night. Then it's The First Noel, Joy to the World, and Angels We Have Heard on High. Glorious Day, a contemporary Christian song, was ranked 7th. Then Goodness of God. A classic hits 9th, Go Tell It on the Mountain. And rounding out the 10, O Come, Emmanuel. Love them all. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. We're leaving you tonight with the number one hymn hit. Here's a performance of O Holy Night from Brooklyn's St. Teresa of Avila Church.